Hello bunny pals, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name's Kerry and today we are going to be talking about holiday hacks for planning your trip to Japan. I've been to Japan twice. It was supposed to have been 3 times, but due to the pandemic, our trip back in March 2020 was cancelled, which I was obviously heartbroken about. Basically, I've been asked by friends who have got interest in going to Japan and by other people online for tips to help plan that trip, stuff that you need to know, stuff to be aware of before you go, and just to have some tips. So I've decided to make 2 videos about this. In this one today is going to be talking about the planning, pocket Wi-Fi's, SIM cards, how to decide where to stay, how to decide on where to go, that kind of thing. I'm also going to try and include some tips and some things that I wish I had known before I first went to Japan. There was quite a lot that I didn't know about despite doing quite a lot of research, and I just think it's some bits that some people don't always remember to talk about in videos, or maybe they don't really think it's quite a big thing, but for me I thought it was something that you should know. So yeah, let's get going. How much planning should you do? I remember reading somewhere that you should tightly plan your trip, that every day should be planned for. And yeah, that planning every day is the way that you're gonna get the most out of it. I do think that largely depends on the type of person that you are. For me personally, I like to at least have something set in stone, I definitely want to do this, or I definitely want to do that, but I'm also quite willing to go with the flow of things. I do also think it does depend on how long you're staying somewhere. If you're going during cherry blossom season, I would fully recommend that you plan your journey, plan how long you want to stay there for, where you want to stay, and look up popular sites before you go, just so you can make the most out of your holiday during this special time and get most of your Sakura related activities and themes, things to do going on. But yeah, if you're not staying for that long, maybe for a week, then you can probably get away with not planning that much, because I imagine if you're only going for a week, you're not really going to be moving around. You might just be staying in one area, so you could probably get away with not planning that much. But if you are going to stay for a couple of weeks, or if you are going to be traveling around, then I would really recommend planning to help make the most out of your trip, and to do a decent amount of research into each area that you'd like to go. If you think you know where you would like to stay, I would say look up different things. I keep referring back to my notes to make sure I don't forget anything. I would recommend that you look up things to do in that area and things that are nearby, and make a list of it. So say if you know that you want to stay in Kyoto but you don't know how long you want to stay there for, but you know there's a lot you want to do there, just write Kyoto and just write down the things that you want to do. And I would also recommend putting next to it, if it's a temple, a shrine, a cafe or a restaurant, and making a note out of it, if you'd really like to do it at that time, or if you'd happy to delay that to another trip. Prioritize these, maybe do a little color code or something, I don't know, whatever this is for you. I think making little notes next to these things, whether it is a cafe or a shrine and stuff, it helps you if you do decide to end up staying in that one area or visiting that one area. It helps you plan out a day, and it does eventually mean that you can look up things and see if it's close by. So you can say oh, I want to go to this place, but this cafe is all the way over here, so we don't do that on that day. But there is this restaurant that I have noted and it's quite nearby, so we can do that after we've been to this place. I done this for planning my own trips, especially my first trip. That was with my mum and we was traveling around, and I just found that writing down all these names of things really helped me to remember what it actually was, and it did really help me and my mum for planning out our days and what we wanted to do and where we wanted to stay. It's just a really handy method, and it does mean that if you don't look at your notes for some time and go back. You're not then being like, what the f is this? I have no idea what this is, because that does happen, at least if you're quite forgetful like me. I also found this helpful for when I did go to Japan the second time. I was spending 2 weeks in Tokyo, and I think I would have found like a lot of days just feeling quite lost and not knowing what to do. I wrote down things to do in each different ward of Tokyo, so like it was just really handy. I could be like, okay, I'm gonna go to say like Ikebukuro for this one day, and oh, there's this and this that I want to do, and then you can just try and work out like a day going around and making sure that you do get everything in that you want to do. And it also, I think it helps like not to try and pressure yourself into doing too much in one day as well, if that makes any sense. If you don't know where you want to go, you still use the note method, and I just say really take your time to do your research. When I was first planning my trip to Japan, I was just writing down like all these different things I want to do, like yeah, I want to go and do this, want to go to do that, like, but not realizing that some of it was in like northern Japan and some of it's in like southern Japan, and that realistically in the timescale that I had, I just wasn't gonna get everything in. Another good thing to do with this noting method is when you are like making notes of like places and special areas that you'd really like to see, like just have a look and see what else is nearby, because you can then like really decide like if it's a day trip out that you're doing, for example, like if it's really worth doing that day trip out. You can end up like making loads and loads of different lists or like notes of different places and like cafes and you know all of that you want to see. And then what you can do is start narrowing it down, so you can say like, oh okay, like all of these places are in this one area, but there's these other things that are realistically doable for a day trip, and that can really help you narrow down where exactly you're going to be staying to get the most out of your trip and to be able to see as many things as you would like to. With me and my mum, because I was trying to accommodate both like what we both wanted to do, we ended up deciding on flying into Narita and staying there for a couple of nights, and then we was moving down from there to Osaka, from there to Kyoto, and then from Kyoto back up to Tokyo. We was going for 2 weeks. Once we had decided that those were the areas where we were going to be staying, we then made lists of the things that we really wanted to do in each area. It made it easier for us to then oh god, bleh, words, to then decide like how long we was going to stay in each area for. And like also by like doing this, you can then like see like realistically if that area is actually suitable for you. Say like Osaka, you can be like, yeah, let's stay here, and then realise the things that you want to do there could just be done in the day out, and you could stay in like Nara or Kyoto and just do a day trip over there. But yeah, once you've got an idea of where you want to stay and like how long you're looking at staying for, you can then go start looking at hotels. Should you stay in a hotel, and what are they like? I stayed in hotels for both of my trips, but I would really stress the importance of doing your research and looking at what you feel is important for you. Like if you're staying in a group, you might want to stay in like a hostel or something similar to that. For me personally, hotels were just an easier thing. There are many different types of hotels. There are some that you probably, I don't think they allow like long stays anyway, but they're literally just places that you'd probably just want to stay in for like one night. So you get like your little capsule hotels and like your sexy love hotels. But yeah, like I said, they're really only places that you'd stay in for one night, just because of it's small. Like I think like the love hotels only let you book in one night, but they are generally the kind of places that you book if say like you've missed like your last train home and you just need somewhere to camp out for a couple of hours. It's like that kind of thing. There are themed hotels, so you get like some hotels just have like a themed room. I know there's one that has like a Pokemon themed room. I think there's other like Hello Kitty. I don't know if it's like a Hello Kitty hotel, if it's just, again, it's a hotel with a Hello Kitty themed room. Like they're kind of cool, but because of it's themed, it's a character, like it's a branded thing, they can be quite expensive. So if you're trying to like budget, they may not be the best. You have Japanese hotels called ryokans. They are like a traditional Japanese inn. Again, they can be expensive, but that's because of the experience that you have there. It's all very like traditional, very beautiful. You get to see like how just what it is like to stay in a traditional Japanese hotel. But one thing you should note is that if you are tattooed or quite heavily tattooed like myself, they may not necessarily allow you to stay just because of Japanese cultural views about tattoos. That is changing, but I don't know how much it has changed, so that is just something to take into consideration. I did vaguely mention the hostels. That wasn't something that was suitable for me and my mum. We just like a bit of security, okay? I don't know, it's just, maybe it's just the fear because I've never stayed in one, but me and my mum just wanted somewhere that's just secure, just us two, just somewhere we could go and chill and unwind. Not saying that you can't do that in hostels, just that me and my mum, we're just, especially me, I'm just a very shy, introverted person, and I just wanted just that privacy. But I have watched videos on YouTube where people have stayed in them and they seem like a lot of fun. So yeah, like I said, do your research. You also get like Western style hotels in Japan. Those are the ones that me and mum use to stay in. I would recommend staying in a hotel, or like, you know, like wherever you're choosing to stay, in a place that is close to either a bus route or to a station, just so you're not having to lug your luggage that far, because if you're moving around towards the end of your trip, you do get quite tired and it does get quite exhausting lugging your suitcase up and down stairs, especially if you're like tiny, not so like strong muscled ladies like myself. It's just easier. It does also mean that when you're out and about at night as well, like it's just a little safer, especially if you are going out and about on your own. Also, make sure that your hotels are close to areas that you want to explore, because you don't want to say like book a hotel and then realise that you're fucking miles away from wherever you want to go and explore. This is something that me and mum had to take into consideration when we were staying in Kyoto, because we realised like where the station is, say like the station was like here. This isn't like geographically correct, but say like the station was like here, and then everything we want to see was like around here. So it was like not worth us staying near the station. So what we done was booked, like it was called a hotel, but it was like an apartment, and we booked one that was on a bus route. So once we got to the station, we could get on the bus, which was a good nightmare in itself, but we'll talk about that at another point, maybe in the next video. I don't know, I'll have to look over my notes and see. But yeah, it was just something, it's something to consider. It just meant that we could get on the bus, get off by our apartment, and like then that way, like where we was staying, we wasn't that too far away from Kiyomizu-dera. It wasn't that long of a walk from Fushimi Inari. It just meant that we was close by to the main like touristy attractions that we wanted to see. Tripadvisor is a really useful website to help you plan this, just to like help you like reference like whereabouts on the map your hotel is, like how far away it is from the stations and stuff. This is the main thing that me and my mum done actually for planning on where we wanted to stay in every area that we stayed in. It was really helpful, and it meant that like it just means that you can like look at the pictures of the hotel and see if you like it, and see if like you don't, it just has everything. And yeah, like I said, it just helps planning where you're staying a bit easier. And if you don't mind maybe spending a little bit more on somewhere that is a bit closer to your tourist attractions, rather than that cheap hotel that's like an hour away from everything that you do want to see. Going back to our place in Kyoto, it was listed as a hotel, but it was more like a small, I would say like traditional looking apartment, and that was really cool. So like as you went in, you had like the little like dip down bit where you take out your shoes. I can't remember the actual word for it right now, but it had like a mini fridge freezer, mini kitchen, living room come bedroom with 2 separate beds, a balcony, and our own like bathroom. That was a really cool thing to experience. It just felt like a little like home that wasn't your home away from home kind of thing. And it even had like the little slippers, like your house slippers that you're supposed to be wearing. So yeah, that was really cool. I would fully recommend staying in one of those if you can. They're just a really nice experience, and it's nice to be able to like just have like a little fridge, and it means that if you want to like attempt some sort of cooking, if you're feeling brave, you can do, and I think that is quite nice to do. Oh, another thing that I should note is that if you are staying in a Western style hotel room, they can be quite small. I mean, most of the ones that I've stayed in have been of a reasonable size. There was only one, and this was in Asakusa in Tokyo, I should say. My teacher would tell me off for that, my sensei. And that, I mean, this room was bloody small. Like, you literally go in and you could probably take 2 steps between the end of your bed and the bathroom, and the beds were raised up so you could fit your suitcases in. You didn't really walk in there. The beds were like wall to wall. Or like where my bed was, we had like a counter that was probably about like this wide for us to like put like cosmetics and stuff, and there was a TV on the wall. You get off your really high bed, take 2 steps, small steps, and then you'd go take a step up and your bathroom was there. That was the smallest room. I remember saying to my mum, like, as she opened the door, and I was like, Mum, go in. And she's like, I am in. And I was like, no, come on, you're taking the like, get in. And yeah, as we went in, it was like, well, we can literally just fit both of us standing there with our suitcases. Like, heck, this is small. But like I said, that was the smallest room. A lot of our rooms were like, I don't know what anyone's complaining about. They're reasonable size. I can really, like, all you need your hotel room is to like sleep and get ready, and just to store your things while you're out and about. They might seem a little tight, but then there's rooms in the UK where I've been to and I've also thought it's a little tight. It just don't go in there expecting like a huge luxurious room, because the only way you're going to get that is if you're going to pay like a load of money, and really you've got better things to be spending your money on if you're going out to Japan, unless you've got all that splash cash, spare cash, then you flash. That's what I was trying to say. Right, I go back to, so yeah, so like I said, if you've got a lot of money to spend, so like it's a special occasion like a honeymoon. What other special occasions are there? I don't know. Your only trip there, I don't know. Say like if you've saved up a lot of money, I would say, yeah, sure, like you might want to spend that on a nicer hotel room, but really before you look into spending a lot or like a really nice hotel room just to have some space, you might like to actually spend that money on going out for like a nice restaurant and stuff in a nice expensive like flashy area somewhere. I don't know. I am planning on doing a video about the trip that I took with my mum. I will include details of like where I stayed, what we got up to, but if you would like to know for now like the names of all the hotels, I will link below my blog that I wrote about like with my holiday hacks, and it will have all the details of the hotels that I stayed in, and I think I also put the distance away from stations or like how I got there, like if it was on like the Kyoto one for example, if it was on a bus journey. I think I tried to put in as much information as I can, but the hotels that I did stay in I would recommend, but note that the one in Kyoto has now sadly closed, but there are similar ones there that I can talk to you about in another video. Should you buy a rail pass or a Suica card? I think this does depend on, so like if you're just going to be staying in Tokyo, or if you're going to be moving around and traveling quite a lot. When I went with my mum, we bought rail passes because of us traveling around. Train fares are quite expensive in Japan, and also another interesting fact, just going to slip it in here, sidetrack. You can only get a rail pass if you are a foreigner visiting Japan. They do save you a lot of money on the train fare. I think when I looked it up, a single ticket from Tokyo down to Kyoto was like £99. The travel, it is expensive. But yeah, me and my mum have brought rail passes because of the fact that we was travelling from Narita to Osaka, down to Kyoto, then from Kyoto back up to Tokyo. Yeah, if you're going to be moving about, these are incredibly handy. We brought our rail passes from japan-rail-pass.com. Oh my god, that took me so long. I shouldn't have struggled that much. I will link that website below. It's an incredibly handy website. It's very reliable. I brought me and Gwyd rail passes for when we were supposed to go to our council trip. They helped us out so much. Obviously, it's nothing that anyone could help, but they were just incredibly helpful. They gave everyone crazy long dates to get to sort out their rail pass and let them know like how to do all of it, and it was so easy, so straightforward. I fully recommend them. These passes, they're not cheap. They are expensive. I think it's a 14-day pass. It is about £350. So like I said, it is something to think about. But if you are going to be using the Shinkansen or the bullet train to travel around, these are so worth it just because of the amount of money that you do save. I think you can use it to go all the way down to the south, but I don't think it covers you up north anymore, but you probably want to double check me on that. But yeah, you can go to so many places with this pass, and they do have different types of pass. You can get a pass for 7 days, 14 days, or 21 days. But yeah, like I said, these can be expensive, so you should make sure you get the right one for you. This pass did save me and my mum a lot of money because of the travelling around, because we done day trips out. When we was in Osaka, we took a day trip out to Nara, and our rail pass covered that as well. When we were staying in Tokyo, we was able to get around to all of the main stations with our rail pass, and I do still have mine, so I can show you what it looks like. It's a little rail pass. Oh, also, I haven't made any notes about this, which is really bad of me. But with your rail pass, it's something that you order in advance. They send you a voucher, and then you use that voucher. You go to an office in the airport, and they will swap that voucher out for your rail pass. So I don't know. Oh no. So this is your pass. But yeah, on the pass, have your little Japan rail pass on the front. You open it up and it has a map of Japan. It has a travel terms and conditions as well, so you can read it and make sure you're definitely doing the right thing. And then yeah, on the back it has your name, your nationality, your passport number, and it has your Japan rail pass, so it's an actual ticket that they stick on it. And then underneath they do stamp it on the trains and the stations that you've been through, which is something that I thought was really cool, and it's a really nice thing just to keep and look back at. The Suica card, one of these, is like a credit card, and it works very similar to an Oyster card. It's another thing that you order online, and then the actual card itself gets sent out to you. Same with the rail pass. I would order it with enough time to turn up at your house, so you're not panicking and it's not turned up a few days before you fly. I can't remember how much it is, but this does have money on it already. It has that 1,300 yen, so if you are going from Narita Airport down to Tokyo, it will cover you. I would say if you're planning on just staying within Tokyo, to get one of these, then really handy. You don't want to spend money on a rail pass if you're not going to be traveling around and using it. If you are only staying in Tokyo and you're just going to be traveling around Tokyo, these are the best cards to have. You can top them up easily, you can top them up whenever you like. These you can use on the regular line and on the subway or the underground trains. That's something that you can't use the JR pass on the underground, the subway style trains. These you can, and they're really handy, especially if you get lost, because it just means you can, if you realise you've come out at the wrong station, you can just tap in and find your way back and not spend a shitload of money on tickets like me and my mum did, because we didn't get one of these alongside our rail card. It was a nightmare. So yeah, like I said, they work like an oyster. You tap in, you tap out, and on the barriers, above the pad that you tap in, it has a little digital screen, and as you tap in, it tells you how much money's left on your card, and then when you tap out at the other end, it tells you just how much money is left on your card. So it is really handy because you can easily keep an eye on it and then see when you would need to top up. And a lot of the fares between, say if you just need from Tokyo Station down to I don't know, Shibuya, and they're quite cheap, so a lot of the time you can get a decent amount of journeys out of these. It just depends on how far you are going. I really like the freedom of having this. You can just think, I can't be bothered to walk there. It might only be half an hour walk from Harajuku to Shibuya, but I'll just hop on the train. And yeah, it's just a little bit of freedom in your pocket, and they're really handy to have. To top up these cards, you'll need to use a machine. They are found in most stations, and they're so easy to use. They are in Japanese, but you do have a little button that you can press and it changes the language to English. It's really straightforward. If I manage to work it out, you guys can work it out. You pop your card in, you choose how much you want to top up, you feed your notes in, it tops up your card and it tells you when you can pull the card out. It's very similar to like how you top up an Oyster. Like I said, I did use this for my second trip, but if you are planning on staying somewhere in Tokyo that doesn't have a JR station nearby and does have one of these like little like subway stations like they're doing at Suica, I really recommend getting one, just so you're not having to spend that little bit of extra money on the ticket between that station to the station that you're nearby. Me and my mum was visiting a friend and he lived in like one of these like subway stations that didn't have a JR pass, and we did get lost. We had to spend a lot of money in one night just to get there, and it was an absolute nightmare. It just makes it a bit easier. Oh, another cool thing about the Suica card is that you can use them on vending machines. Not all of them, but I'm not sure about that. But I know you can use them on some, and it's really handy, especially if you don't have enough change just to get. And it's kind of similar to how you would use like your card for like a contactless payment. That you just kind of, I think you just tap it on and then you click what you want, and then yeah, it just takes the money for your Suica card. It's fab. I loved having this Suica card. It's just really handy. What about portable Wi-Fi? For some reason you can't use like your roaming data in Japan. I'm not entirely sure why this is, but thankfully my friend told me about this before I went to Japan, which is a really good thing he did, because I would have had no idea. Yeah, it's just a thing, but it's definitely something that you need to be aware of before you go. To get around this problem, you can either buy a Japanese SIM card with a set amount of days and data like plan on it, or you can hire a portable Wi-Fi. I've never used a SIM card, but I do know from when I was looking at these that they often have a data limit, so you can only use like a certain amount of data a day, and that it can be quite restrictive. And yeah, like I was saying, like they have a set amount of like days that you can only use the SIM for. I think they have like 15 or like 30 days. Yeah, they only have like 15 or 30 days that you could use them. So like a lot of the time, like it's not really handy anyway, but that's just in like my personal opinion. And another thing to take into consideration with the SIM cards is that they may not be compatible with your phone, especially now with like the way that phones are and the way that they're changing. And especially if you've got an iPhone, I suppose most people have an iPhone now, they're not an Android loser like myself. So yeah, so it's just, they can be a pain. I didn't order one of these just because I just didn't want the fuss of ordering a SIM card, it not fitting my phone, the whole rigmarole of like activating the SIM card, and I was worried about somehow getting charged like more money. And the main thing for me was that I didn't like that it had limited data on it. It's just something that you just don't want to be fretting about how much data you're using while you're out and about. I instead chose to get a pocket Wi-Fi. I ordered it from Japan Rail Pass. It's .co.uk, I might have said .com earlier, but I don't know. Either way, it's that website I'm linking down below. But yes, these pocket Wi-Fis, honestly, they are like the best thing ever. I loved it. It's small, it's compact. They don't take a lot of charging. If you have, most people nowadays will have a portable charger. These little pocket Wi-Fis, you can charge them on that portable charger. They don't drain it off the battery. And I think they charge up like reasonably quickly as well. Like I remember I used to put it on for like 3 hours while we were still on the Shinkansen, like down from one area to another when I was with my mum. It charged up quite a bit in those times that we were spent on the train. They are so handy. Up to 10 people can connect to it, but it would probably drain the battery if you had that many people. The best thing about these things is that the data is unlimited. Honestly, it's beautiful. They're really handy if you're just going out like just as a couple, like just two of you. They lasted me and my mum like all day. A lot of the time we would try and travel like with it fully charged and just have it charged up overnight, but it was just great. Honestly, like they were just like the best things ever. Just go for the portable Wi-Fi. It's just it's so easy. When ordering this, there are a few steps to complete. I will put the first one somewhere on the screen. I can't do the second one because I don't have any flight details and stuff to be able to show you that second part. But on the first page, you will be asked to input details like, you know, obviously like your name, your flight details. I think it's like your flight number. Let me just check my notes. But yeah, you choose like how many days exactly, not like a rough amount, like, or a rounded up amount, I should say, like 7 or 14. You can choose it for 11 or 13. And you have to put in, I think you have to put in the rough time that you're due to arrive in the airport as well. You fill in that first page, and when you go on to the next page, you can then choose if you'd like to have your Wi-Fi delivered to the airport that you're landing in or at the hotel that you're staying at. I've always chosen for it to be at my hotel. So as you book in and you like finishing in the booking in process, they will then be like, oh, we've also got a parcel here for you, and they will give it to you, and inside will be that pocket Wi-Fi. I've always chosen to have it dropped off at the hotel just because I figured that A, I'd know what I'm like, I'd probably forget that I've asked for it to be delivered to the airport, and B, if you're queuing up for your Japan rail pass, I spent an hour queuing for the rail pass, so I think like once you've done that, you probably just want to get your rail pass and get back to your hotel. There's free Wi-Fi in the airport, so you can connect to fly your journey there. Yeah, if you do have it sent to your hotel, you will have to fill in the hotel address, so there will be something that you'll need to Google. Japanese addresses can look so confusing, but Google will help you, not to fill it out for you, but it is a really useful tool for filling out that form. Another thing as well is that it does come with a prepaid envelope that you need to keep. So at the end of your trip, you can pop your Wi-Fi, your little pocket Wi-Fi and all the charges back in there and seal it up and post it back. There are post offices at, I'm presuming they're probably at like every airport, but I know for definite that they are at like Haneda and Narita, so you don't need to worry about trying to get it posted off before you get on the train back to the airport. It's something that you can take with you the whole way there. Yeah, the pocket Wi-Fi is something that I would just really recommend. I've heard of other people ordering a pocket Wi-Fi and it had limited data, and there was like a couple of them linked up to it, and when you're, say like, especially if you're a group of young people who may want to spend more time like uploading stuff as you like online as you're going, that's not saying like that older people don't, but you know, like if you're going out like a group of friends, like you may want to like post more, then you've got like a limited data plan on a pocket Wi-Fi. It's just something that's not really suitable, especially say if you're going out to an area where you might be relying on like Google Maps or something like that to help you get back to your apartment. You just don't want to run out. The one on this website, it's really easy to order, it's easy to use, and I've never personally had a problem. I've ordered from there twice. Both times it turned up quickly. The order confirmation came through quickly, which is something that you'd want to keep a hold of just in case. You always worry, and if you're like a little worrier like myself, that you're going to end up at the hotel and it's not going to be there, but both times it's been there. I've not had any problems. And yeah, I like that you can choose the exact amount of days that you want to have it. It's just really handy if you're going to be staying out there for like an odd amount of days, like 10 days or something. I just really like the convenience of being able to choose the set amount of days that you need the Wi-Fi for. The only thing with this that could be kind of classed as a negative is that you can only order one of these per person. So say if there's like a group of you and you want maybe 2 or 3 of these, like other members of your group, of your party would have to order these. You can't do multiple orders, which is something that I did find during my last trip, but we're not going to go into that. But yeah, like I said, it is such a small negative, and really it's not really an inconvenience for another member of your party to order it, unless you go with someone that just point blankly refuses to do it. In that case, I'd say keep the Wi-Fi to yourself, like I did. Anything else? Yes, look at transfers from the airport back to your hotel. I made a note on this on my blog, but I didn't make it very clear. I don't know what was going on with my brain. Maybe I was just fatigued by the time I was writing it. But look into the transfers. It's something that my mum done. Thank God my mum did, because otherwise I would have had no idea. I would have been like, yeah, let's just get the train back to our hotel. Not that it was a problem, because we was only going from Narita airport to Narita station, but whatever. But yeah, my mum looked into it. There was a bus that was going from outside the airport that was dropping us off, and we loved it because we was just like, okay, we can just get off and just walk around to our hotel. That's fine, that's great. I do know that they do bus transfers into Tokyo and like parts of Tokyo, and the bus was free. That was incredible. It just meant that once we spent a long time getting through passport control and customs, it meant that we could just leave, get on the bus and not worry about it. We sorted out our rail pass the next day, but I'll cover that in another video. But yeah, just look into it. It's really handy. Another thing that's probably going to sound really obvious, but maybe isn't to people like me, is to print out your emails with all of your bookings for like your hotels, any activities, or like museum tickets that you've booked, and like days out that you've booked through like Tripadvisor, because they do some cracking great days out on there. Not that I've actually booked any from Tripadvisor, but some look really nice. It was just the price that put me off it, because I was poor, okay? But yeah, print up all of your hotel information, including phone numbers, email addresses, and the actual address, and print out everything in Japanese and in English. This does include your cafe reservations as well, just in case you go to a cafe that don't have someone that can speak very good English on the door. Maybe if your Japanese isn't, if you can't speak Japanese fluently, it's just something really handy, and it's a backup then to have it in both languages. One thing that I wish I had known before I first flew out to Japan is that when you're on the plane, you're given a couple of cards, and you need to fill out these cards with the information of like where you're staying. Yeah, they need to be filled in before you go through passport control. I had no idea, so I was completely unprepared on the plane. When they gave it in, they're like, you need to fill this in, and it was like, pardon? What? And yeah, it was just something that threw me and my mum into a blind panic. We couldn't access the Wi-Fi on the plane. I think my mum, for some reason, I'm sure my mum had all the printouts, but for some reason, we just couldn't find him, and then that was getting us all het up. It was an absolute nightmare, and then it just meant that we was in the Narita airport, desperately trying to log on to the airport Wi-Fi to get the information. It was really slow. It was getting all like, like when you get like stressed out, like sweaty, like we was getting like that. It was cracking, because it meant like once we got through passport control, everyone else had already been through like 10 minutes before us. So yeah, we just like sailed on through. So yeah, so just have that information to hand, carry it in your hand luggage. So when you fill in those cards, you can just fill it in straight away. You have to fill in your hotel details, and if you are traveling about, just put in the first hotel that you're staying at. So like for me and mum, we only put in the one in Narita, even though we were only staying there for 2 days, just because that was our first point of call within like our first hotel that we were staying in the country. And yeah, I think that is all. So I will be doing a part 2 to this. I might release another video in between, I don't know, but I will be doing a part 2, and in that second part I'll be just talking about like what to expect, like do's and don'ts to pack, because I had no idea what to pack. So yeah, so thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you all in the next video. Goodbye.